Morning. I just finished combing Rocky. There's a big chunk of Rocky right there. That's his fur that I combed out. It's 9:30 in the morning. I'm gonna have to start making breakfast soon. But I'll tell you a little more about my taxi driving days. This is actually kind of a funny story. I'll just tell this one quickly here. I picked up a fellow in town at one of the bars. He got into the car. This was at night, fairly late at night, or in the wee hours of the morning, I guess, really, as the bars were beginning to close down. And he said, I want to go to my Uncle Archie's place. So he told me where that was anyway, and it was out in the country. It was a farm. Anyway, we're driving out there, and we get there, and there isn't really a driveway. You have to drive across a cow pasture in the dark to get to the house. And of course, the house is all in darkness. And so I can't see the house. He's just pointing at me in the general direction of the house. And we're going across this cow pasture. And the old man in the house, he starts shooting at us. Like there's gunfire. He's shooting at us from the house. And bullets are going over the roof of the car. Anyway, he rolled down his window and he yelled across the cow pasture. He yells, Uncle Archie! Uncle Archie! It's me, Stephen! Don't shoot! And then you hear somebody say, Oh, Stephen! All right then. Like that, so then the gunfire stopped. But I noticed off to the right, there was kind of a big white blob. Just off to the right a piece. And this thing, it started to approach the car. And anyway, then it just broke into a dead run. And it run right up against the car. Actually moved the car sideways a bit when it hit the car. To bang, pushed the car a little bit. It was a bull. It was a great big white bull, is what it was. Anyway, we took a run at the car, hit the car. Well, this fella, he yelled out the window, Bowles! Bowles! Lay down, Bowles! Lay down! And anyway, I says to him, I said, the bull's name is Bowles? Yeah, he said, that's the bull's name. He said he got that name because when he was a young bull, he disemboweled a guy. So we called him Bowles. I said, okay, so I definitely will not be getting out of the car for any reason. Anyway, we're going across the cow pasture. We eventually reached the house, and I got him out of the car, and then I had to come back across this mess with the bull and everything. The bull put some dents in the car. That didn't go over very well with my boss. Anyway, I put a dent in the rear quarter panel on the passenger side. And put a smaller dent in one of the doors, in like the passenger side rear door too. Anyway, got out of there. When I'm driving out, the bull was circling the car. And that's what was happening anyway. The bull was circling the car. So I got out of there anyway. And that was just one story. Another time I picked up these two guys. There was a young guy and there was an old guy. The young guy got into the back seat, and the old guy got into the front seat with me on the passenger side. And I think the young guy had just had a big fight with his girlfriend. The young guy would have been around my age anyway, and he'd had a big fight with his girlfriend. And I was in my early 20s. I was only 22 when all this happened. Uh, yeah. Yeah, that's right, 22. I had to think there for a minute, but yeah, I was 22. Anyway, the young guy was pretty upset. He just had a big fight with his girlfriend, all the drama that goes with that. And they were both drunk. And the old fella, he was eating one of those vacuum-packed submarine sandwiches that you can buy in a convenience store. And you could buy them there, and anyway, not probably the best things to eat, but anyway, the old lad anyway, the young lad's complaining about his girlfriend, and the old lad, he says, in my lifetime, I've dealt with cars and trucks and animals and, so many things. And they all give you trouble, he said. Every one of them will give you trouble one way or another at some point. And he said, I can handle that. Whatever trouble a thing throws at me, I can handle. But the old man was drunk. He was like falling down drunk. This is what he said anyway. And then he said, but when it comes to women, he said, I just give up. That's all he said. I just give up when it comes to women. Can't handle them. And then he went over sideways into my lap and puked. Threw up in my lap. Literally just like that, with his head, and his head landed in my lap and he vomited. So I was covered from the waist down pretty much in the remnants of this sandwich that he was eating and whatever else he had eaten that day. Yeah, that was fun. That was one example. When it comes to women, he said, I just give up. Blah, puked all over. Yeah, it was nasty. Anyway, these are just a few of the experiences I had driving cab. That was actually that's one of those ones that wasn't funny when it happened. And the same with the bull. The bull was not funny when it happened. But looking back years later, it was pretty funny anyway. I remember one time a young couple got into the car. And the guy was really arrogant. He was really arrogant. And he was making all kinds of wisecracks about driving a taxi. About how it doesn't take much in the way of brains to be a cab driver. Or basically saying the cab drivers were the lowest form of life, really, that there is, And like that. And then he said, if I give you a tip, will you promise me you'll go to university or college or something and make something out of yourself? Because he said, as it stands, you're just about the lowest form of life there is, really, driving a taxi cab. And the girlfriend, I guess she got a little fed up with him. And she said to him, she said, you be nice. You be nice, she said, or you won't be allowed to go in the pool anymore. You like going in the pool, don't you? You won't be allowed to do that anymore with me if you keep this up. So I guess, but the pool wasn't like the pool in the yard behind the house anyway that she was talking about. She was talking about her pool. I guess you could say about a certain part of her that he would no longer be allowed to swim in if he kept this up. So anyway, funny stories anyway, Oh, there was one. I don't know if I should tell this one or not, but I guess I should now that I've started. I'll try to be as nice about it as I can. At the end of the night, towards when everybody was going home, I picked up this woman, and I was driving her home. And the fare to get out where she was $8. She was in the country. This is how long ago it was, anyway. It was in the country where we were going. We didn't have meters in the small town in the cabs. We worked on a flat rate system. Any place you were going in town was $3.50. If you were within the town limits, we'd pick you up and take you anywhere in the town limits for $3.50. If you were going outside of the town limits, then it was a rated system, or it went by how many miles, basically, you were traveling. Anyway, her bill was going to come to $8. And she gets in the cab anyway, and I'm driving her home. And she was, she had been drinking. She'd been out with the girls or whatever, and she'd been drinking. And she starts offering me a certain kind of a service in exchange for, oh, there we go.
I don't know. I don't think nobody.
There we go. I'm watching another video, and it just came back on. The internet kind of had gone out. But anyway, the thing... Anyway, she offered me something of a sexual nature, I'll just put it that way, in exchange for not charging her this $8 taxi fare. I didn't avail myself of it. For the record, I didn't do that. I took the $8 and I didn't take the alternative that she offered me. But I was telling the other driver that was on that night about it. He'd gotten to be a good friend of mine, and he was the one that I mentioned from the other videos that also had keys to all the cars like I did, and was allowed to take cars home and so on like I was. The two of us were kind of the ones that were, well, we drove the most, and we also were the ones that were trusted, So anyway, the rest were never really trusted very much. But our boss, there were two of us that he really trusted, and I was one, and this other guy was the other one anyway. So we had access to all the vehicles, and we drove pretty much every day and stuff like that, And we could take cars home, and we could use cars for our personal use if we needed to, and so on. But we didn't abuse it, though. It's not something that you would want to be doing too much, but if we needed to use a car, we could, Anyway, the thing is, I was telling him about what this woman had offered me, and he told me the story. She was the wife of an OPP officer, of an Ontario Provincial Police officer, and he had picked her up at the beginning of the night when she was on her way out to, to go drinking with the girls, basically, with her friends, And he told me the story. He said on their way out, as she gets into the car, and she roared out the window at her husband, who was standing on the porch, the OPP officer. She roared over to him as they were pulling out of the yard. She roared, "Take good care of those kids. One of 'em's yours," she said. So, anyway, that was kind of a good line anyway. Take good care of those kids. One of 'em's yours. So, maybe that was a little more, maybe there was more truth in that, though. Like, they say that there's always a little truth in humor. So maybe there was more truth to that than my friend originally thought when he heard it, but still, it was a good line anyway. Take good care of them kids, one of 'em's yours, Anyway, that's just some of the stories from when I was driving a cab, some kind of funny stories. They're more funny to look back on now than they were at the time. At the time, a lot of the stuff that happened really wasn't very funny, and we got into a lot of bad scrapes. There was a lot of really awful things that happened, situations that we had to deal with. I came across a car accident one time when I was driving cab, and a man in the car was dead, and it was somebody I knew. And that's quite a thing. To find somebody like that, and to be somebody you know on top of it. But yeah, not good anyway. But yeah, like I say, we did have some funny experiences too, I guess, looking back on it. I mean, things that you can look back on now and laugh at. When you're being shot at and the bull is coming after you, that's not funny. At the time, it's not funny at all, but when you look back on it, it's hilarious, you know. Anyway, that's it. We'll talk to you later.